AskReddit by Deku Izuku. What show failed because someone left the show? The X-Files after Mudder left. Don't get me wrong, I did quite like Agent Doggett and the show's effort to continue, but you're absolutely right, Mudder is Mudder and you can't have X-Files without him. Edit. I'd just like to point out how much I love that people are still so passionate about X-Files even now. That 70s show replacing Eric with Randy was truly awful. Crazy how the narrative has completely flipped on the cast of the show. I was a casual fan and remember hearing the Eric actor was a huge douche who didn't get along with the cast. That's why he left or was pushed off the show. Come to find out, the cast was a whole bunch of rapists and rapist apologists. Not to mention a bunch of Scientology whackers. Eric was the glue in that show. It was garbage without him. News radio after Phil Hartman was killed. Came to say this one. I think they limped along for another year or so, but it wasn't the same. Misfits when the main cast started to leave. It just went downhill so fast. As soon as they started swapping powers around, the whole premise of the show kind of disappeared. I have a feeling we're about to find out with The Witcher. It was only as good as it was because Cavill was passionate for the project and did his best to show a good Geralt and to push back against some of the worst decisions of the showrunners. With him out of the way, I'm not too sure that it's going to be any good at all. Cavill hard carried the show. Scrubs without JD. This is exactly what I came to say. Perfect show for Braff. Career defining and the heart of the show. 2.5 Men. I know Charlie didn't leave, but it was never the same. I saw Kutcher in one episode and was done. Walking Dead ain't Walking Dead without Rick Grimes. Wait, Rick died? And Carl died? 8 simple rules for dating my daughter, but John Ritter passed away, so a little different. I mean, the show also played the immediate aftermath of the sudden loss of a loved one in a very open and unapologetic manner. Criminal Minds went downhill after Hotch and Derek left. I'm watching for the first time and I'm on season 4. It's still quite good, but I can't help but wonder what would have been had Mandy Patinkin stayed around. Gideon had this gravitas about him and portrayed so many emotions through so little words. Still enjoying the show, but Gideon really felt like the main character. The acting from Hotch, Prentice, and Reed save it for me now. How much coke did Charlie Sheen do? Enough to kill 2.5 men. I'm B winning. I win here, win there. I've got tiger's blood in me. Hasn't failed yet, but have officially lost all interest in Grey's Anatomy now that Meredith has left, and I see a lot of others have the same opinion. They're trying so hard to keep the show going with a new batch of interns, but TBH, it should have ended a few years ago. I honestly lost interest not long after Dempsey left. Once Upon a Time was already dying a slow death, but the last season when many of the original cast left was unwatchable for me. I don't think I made it 10 minutes into the first episode. Dude, that show started off so fucking good. I ended it within the 3rd season maybe, I don't remember. It started just getting a little too loosey-goosey with the story. The Good Wife went to shit after they killed off Will. Likewise with Sweets on Bones. They could have just had him go raise his kid with Daisy and help at a center again or something. The killing was unnecessary. Him not being there, making sure people actually resolved their issues, and missing the insights he gave into cases, was a detriment to the show. First one that came to mind was that 70s show. When Topher Grace left, it jumped the shark. Rewatched the series last year and boy oh boy had it already jumped long before then. I think Eric leaving Donna at the altar, a full season before leaving the actual show, was the point of no return. The writing had been really inconsistent for a while by then. but calling off that wedding was the official sign that they were refusing to develop the characters any further into adulthood and would just keep sleepwalking through the now stale status quo. Do the writers for Dexter count? Grey's Anatomy. After most of the OG cast left, Christina, Lexi, Mark, Derek. They need to put that show out to pasture. House of Cards. When Spacey left. A shit person but an amazing actor. Really unfortunate. I stopped watching at the end of season 2. Seemed like a perfect ending. Didn't need any more. Sliders. After the professor left. Of course, John Rhys Davis left because he felt the writing quality was going downhill, so he was just reading the writing on the wall. It was such a cool concept for a show that just didn't pan out. Yeah. Then Jerry O'Connell left, then Sabrina Lloyd. They killed that show good. Craig Ferguson and The Late Late Show. Dude was such a charismatic comedic genius, and his replacement was such a moronic buffoon of an imbecile. Ferguson was amazing. It was truly a talk show. He threw away any prepared notes and had a conversation. Often, he'd have to throw in what they were pitching to be there. I hear you're in a movie, guest. Oh yeah, they were so into it, they forgot. It was tense across the board. I miss it. Glee. After Corey Monteith died. It was generally bad after high school ended, but he was definitely the piece that held them all together. The first season or so was a perfect balance of satire and earnest embrace of theater kid camp. The jokes were spicier and more self-aware. Once I gave it a chance, I realized how sharp the humor was. Rachel Berry was supposed to be the butt of the joke, not the audience surrogate. After Monteith died, it felt like everything had to be a saccharine after-school special. I watched it for a few more seasons, but Monteith was the charming straight man, in a comedy sense, not sexuality, that held the storylines together, and those seasons weren't the same. Game of Thrones without George Martin. That applies to both the show and the books. Top Gear. Clarkson, May and Hammond were the show. The problem with new Top Gear is that they tried to recreate Clarkson, Hammond and May's repartee and humor, but with 7 presenters, only 2 of which were actually interesting to listen to and 1 of which was universally considered to be insufferable. And you just get too many cooks trying to recreate something that took a decade to perfect in 1 week. Beauty and the Beast tanked when Linda Hamilton left. Ron Perlman was great in that show. The way they got rid of her character was enough for me to abandon it immediately. I didn't even hang around to see what happened afterwards. The show was dead to me. Altered Carbon. After Joel Kinnaman left. I think they could have better established the premise by having Kovacs leave a few times within the season, so the change in S2 wasn't so jarring. Kinnaman had amazing chemistry with Chris Connor, Poe, who really stole each scene, and Gerarda, Ortega. Yes, there were flashbacks, and S2 really tried to remind viewers that reliving was a thing and visual identities don't matter like our reality does, but it was lost to S1 viewers because they already imprinted on Kinnaman as the main character.